Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
I went back to that introduction. We've got a few that we kick the show off with, just because last week I thought we'll have a 2-hour podcast. I think I've got everything worked to 2 hours, and it ended up again close to 3. Not putting a time on this episode, but we're covering a lot. We've got 2 feature interviews. That's always going to make things long. We're going to be talking about the Whitecaps kicking off their pre-season, a little bit of Vancouver FC news, some international news. We'll be looking at the Whitecaps this week, 50 years ago in 1974. Hot Chocolate Boy makes a triumphant return.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be lots of other bits that we'll throw in here and there as well. But what a week it has been, Zach. Snowmageddon 2024 hit, and now we are in the meltdown of it. It's very slushy and wet out there.
Yeah. Last week was crazy, man.
It was a weird week. I didn't get to any VMSL games. They were all surprisingly called off at the weekend.
I didn't
No
leave
commitment.
I didn't leave my house for like almost 3 days.
That's my usual, apart from walking the dog, mind you. But yeah, what was it like in your bit? Because we got, I would say, maybe 1.5 to 2 foot here in East Van. So I can only imagine how bad it was in yours.
It was 18 to 24 inches. And the problem right where we live, our problem is it's not the getting out and going somewhere. It's we live in this little complex where you turn into it, or you turn into it, and there's a little incline, and then there's an immediate left turn and a steeper incline. And there's been 2, 3, maybe more times where we've in snowy, icy weather where we've not been able to get up the hill. And so you don't want to get caught with like someone behind you or someone coming down the hill, and it's a very narrow as well. It's we only reason we bought here was because we're at the back where it doesn't feel narrow and tight and like claustrophobic, right? The rest of it, there are other parts of where our little complex we live in that field are too claustrophobic for me. Like even when I drive through them, I'm so thankful I don't live like in such a tight space so close to other people. But yeah, so we probably, there's one of the days we probably should have walked down to see, okay, how bad is the hill, and check even if we can't make it up the hill, how snowy is the road, so because we'd have to park on the road if we couldn't get back up the hill, because that was our big fear. It was like, okay, if we can't get back up the hill, we got to park on the road, but the whole side of the road might be covered in a snowbank. So it was like okay, let's just stay, let's all 4 of us just stay in, we'll play games, we'll watch shows, we'll hang out, we'll read together, we love doing those things. My daughter went in our backyard, there's a tiny little hill, and she just likes she has an old like tiny little sled, not even sled thing. Well, anyways, it's a little thing she goes down the hill on. She loved it. She went out there for a day. My son and I went out and shoveled snow like you're supposed to do after it all stopped, and after the plow finally came and, not buried us, but gave us some parameters to shovel within. And Yeah, it was nice.
This would have been a fantastic week to have started our book club if your book had arrived. I could have
Yes.
got that to you, but sadly it
Yeah.
hasn't yet. We'll get round to that. The snowbanks as well was the problem for me because my car,
Yeah. I know where
I
you
couldn't
are.
get it out.
Yeah.
It was just so deep. But my neighbour, who was parked in front of my car, cleared all the snow around their car, cleared the snowbank so their car could get out to leave a nice gap that I then drove forward to as soon as they left. And took that spot. So it was very nice of him. They let me get out to the Hot Chocolate Festival this weekend. So caring neighbours.
Did you steal the spot when you came back?
I stole it as soon as they left.
As soon as you pulled into it. Did
Yeah,
they
I
come
was like,
back?
oh, I can move forward.
That's awful. I would be so frustrated if that was
We
me.
left shortly after that to go out. So it was good because we were like, oh, if we can get out, we'll go to the Hot Chocolate Festival. And I was like, I don't know that we'll do it. And then I was like, hey, look what our neighbour's doing. I think we might get out.
So when you got back, did you take that empty spot again?
No, we parked round the back because
Oh, yeah.
the complex had
Easy.
cleared our actual parking
Yeah.
spot properly. Which my lesson is park there when you know there's a snowstorm coming. But in the past, they haven't cleared it well, and it's been a struggle to get out of our spot there. So I thought, oh, the front will be better. But
Yeah.
they just basically hadn't come to clear anywhere around us at all. But yeah, it's worse. I love the snow. I genuinely love just everything about it. I like being out in it. Even my Mexican rescue dog has been enjoying the snow. It's when it starts to melt and it goes all slushy. It's just like, oh, it's just awful. But I don't know. This might be the only dump we get of the year. We shouldn't complain when you see what the rest of Canada's like and what the US is going through at the moment from coast to coast. It's been bad in Oregon. It's been bad out east. It's just horrendous.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no air travel or anything at this point in time for me.
I always joking like, oh yeah, I live in this part of the country to avoid this because I've had it so much of my life. But yeah, you can't really complain when you're here, and it happens once, maybe twice, or in
Yeah.
a crazy year 3 times. So yeah, this is our first really bad one, right? For this year.
First for a while. My parents
Last
came over to
Christmas?
visit in 2009, and it was a really bad dump there, and they couldn't get out anywhere to go and see the city. I couldn't take them anywhere because my car was snowed in, and that was worse because it hung about for way longer than this. But
Well, last year last Christmas. It was that ice storm, right? Remember? Because my family was supposed to come out and they couldn't.
oh yes,
Everything was frozen.
yeah.
I think they couldn't leave Toronto, let alone land here.
I was watching the 49ers game on Saturday night, and it was torrential heavy rain down there in San Jose.
I don't care about the pigskin, but I'm probably supposed to say Steve and I are not very happy with you.
Oh, talking to Steve and snow, I also remember the videos he sent us from years
Oh,
past of the
yeah.
cars
That
in
was last year.
his
That was last
cul-de-sac trying to get out. Oh,
we should message him and ask what this year's been like. Does he have any more any more uploads? Because his road is like they have some of the people like there's some people who live on his street who they don't care what's going on with the weather. They're like they have somewhere to go or work to get to.
yeah.
They're like first responder. I don't know what they got places to be, and they drive. Doesn't matter what kind of tires they have, or four wheel or front wheel or rear wheel drive.
They're
And
skidding
awful.
everywhere.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
awful.
I tweeted this out. I watched this Mercedes, a sporty Mercedes. I had been down the park at the bottom of my house with Annie, and we watched. Well, actually, she had no interest. I watched this car going down the hill, and then unable to get around the corner and it kept reversing up to try and take a run at it, and it just could not turn this corner because of its tires. Not quite sure why he then thought I can just turn around and go up the hill. And then he got stuck at the top of the hill in the intersection.
Oh, man.
There was three other people trying to help him and him as well. And it's like, why do you think... I mean, he might have had snow tyres on. They didn't look it. It was certainly sporty looking tyres. And then he just gave up. And I saw him go back down the hill and just pull over and park. So it's like, either don't go anywhere, or if you have to, just get public transit.
Yeah.
Surely folk understand if you're late and stuff because
Well, and one of the things about the awful pandemic helped us with is like, okay, ability to say, okay, I'm going to get on my computer and work from home, or have
Yeah.
have that meeting not in person.
Yeah.
No,
The,
obviously it doesn't apply to everything, but
my big complaint, though, and this is a genuine thing that has really pissed me off. So Caitlin has to walk to work. Well, I could drive her, but she has to walk to work. I couldn't get the car out, honest.
yeah.
The sidewalks are just not cleared.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like they say, oh, we've got to make sure the roads are clear. It's like people are walking on the sidewalks. Don't just pile up huge snowbanks so that you can't walk.
I forget what part of Vancouver. I have a buddy who was doing some snow removal in Vancouver, or not snow removal, but I think he was clearing sidewalks. Like he put a video of him like working for a company, like an actual
Oh,
like a side job where he was clearing the sidewalks.
we had 3 teenagers actually that came around and cleaned everyone's paths and stuff in the complex. Our complex pays for someone to come and do it.
Nice.
And I was like, that's so nice. It's that they were doing that. Unfortunately, it was the day where the second snowfall came, so everything they cleared got covered within about an hour, and I kind of felt for them, but it gave you hope for the future that there's kids doing stuff like that. But the good news, as I said, about all of this is the snow cleared, or the path to get out of the snow cleared for me enough to get to the Hot Chocolate Festival this weekend, and that means Hot Chocolate Boy is back.
Hot chocolate boy, he's never had one. Hot chocolate bad one. Hot chocolate boy.
Yes, we've got a double dose of Hot Chocolate Boy this show, and not only that, Zach was part of it.
Oh,
Not together.
no,
But,
we
like,
can say that.
You mentioned on last week's show that there was one place in Langley that was taking part in the 14th Greater Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival.
Which, as far as I understand it, is the closest place to my home to participate.
Yes, there's a couple in like Port Coquitlam, Pitt Meadows. So I think Langley, this would have been the closest one, and it's the Pie Hall. They have 3 locations. That one in Langley that you went to, one in Burnaby that I went to, and they also have one in Kitts in Vancouver on West 4th.
But will you visit that one later in the?
No, I wasn't going to go to the Pie Hall this year because I went last year and it was okay, but I found it quite sickly. It was just a bit too much. But on Twitter, Craft Queer had said this was one of the ones that he was interested in going to, and I hadn't looked at it, and I was like, oh, I'll look. And then I saw number 141 in the list, the apple pie hot chocolate, and I was like, I have to go back for it. And you went for it as well. But before we get into that, I've got a very important question for you.
Yeah.
Were you there on your own?
No.
Oh, thank heavens for that. Because when you shared how much food you had bought, Caitlin and me were like, oh my God, he's going to have a heart attack and never make the show on Sunday to talk about it.
It was like our dessert appetizer for our
How
meal.
many of you were there?
There's 4 of us.
Oh.
The whole family.
Oh, that's good. I just thought, I mean, Caitlin said, oh, no wonder he's the size he is. And no, she didn't. That's a joke. I feel bad for saying it.
No.
Just make Caitlin the bad person. But yeah, your pie hall was a lot nicer inside than the Burnaby one, which is a lot smaller, and there's not a lot of seating. We managed to get one of the last seats when we went on Saturday. So just to explain to everyone, they have 2 items that are getting served this year at the Hot Chocolate Festival: the apple pie hot chocolate and the barrel of chunky monkeys. Both run from January 13th to February 14th for the whole festival. So you and me partook in the apple pie hot chocolate, which is sweet and creamy hot chocolate with house-made brown sugar apple butter syrup and cinnamon-spiced white chocolate calabo, topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle and buttery baked brown sugar pie crumbles, served with a mini apple caramel crumble pie consisting of double butter crust, a mix of granny and gala apples, house-made caramel, and brown sugar crumble. Now, we haven't talked about our experiences, so we get to do it on the show for the first time.
So, but listening to that, like, I could see people getting diabetes listening to that.
Yes. I was worried because of how sweet my one there was last week, but I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't come away from it thinking, oh my God, I need to go and have an insulin shot.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I didn't find it as sickly as I thought I was going to. I actually found it very pleasant, and I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know how you felt.
I thought it was delightful. Now, to be fair, like we were sharing, like so we got that. We just got one of those, so we only had one hot chocolate, and then the little thing that came with it. And then my wife got a was it blueberry or raspberry something pie?
Yeah, because we didn't see that in the Burnaby one, because we were like,
Yeah.
what on earth was that?
So she got that heated up with a little bit of ice cream, vanilla ice cream.
Nice.
And then my daughter wanted
S'mores cookie?
the giant s'mores cookie heated up. And then I can't resist, if I'm like I am in this moment eating carbs, I can't resist key lime pie. Like key lime pie, I think, is my favorite pie. And so I got a slice of the key lime pie. So then we just shared that all together.
Yeah.
So like it was like
I
everyone
feel
got-
better knowing that now.
Yeah, and because we were
I was going to stage an intervention.
we were going to meet up with the Fanatics after for dinner, like an hour.
Oh, you were
or
buzzing.
later. Yeah, we were going to meet up with them later. We knew we were going to eat food. So it was like everyone was like, "Okay, calm down, don't like," because otherwise, because we were there, and I was just like, "I want a meat pie, and I want and
Oh,
those
they
other
they,
things
they
that
do
have."
absolutely beautiful Thai pulled pork pies.
Oh well,
Like, if you go there again, they're really nice.
okay, but we were interested in. There was that bacon cheeseburger. It's not a pie, but it's like that folded, like the pastry thing.
Yeah, they had they call it a pie. It's more like what we call bridies in Scotland, but yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. That's what I call it too. But no, anyways, everything was delicious. For my kids, I think the hot chocolate was like a tad sweet, but they still like drank a bunch of it.
I was worried when it was white chocolate because
Yes.
it can be really
Yes.
overpowering and sweet.
I grew up only eating white chocolate because I found like the dark chocolate, like milk chocolate, whatever, used to give me a headache when I was younger. Not so much as I've been, aged. But so I used to eat lots of white chocolate as a kid. So as soon as I saw it was white chocolate, I was like, okay, it is going to be a little bit sweet. But I thought it was delightful. It gave you full on apple pie flavor. Like,
Yeah.
so
The,
it wasn't like,
the
oh, this is-
crumbles in it were delicious, but for
Oh,
me,
yeah.
what made it, I think, was the
caramel.
caramel, the butter syrup. I'm not sure exactly what all of it together, but it's like that was absolutely delicious.
Oh yeah. The small one was like, it was good, but it was like a little bit too small. There wasn't like
pie.
enough filling. Yeah.
Yeah,
There
I was
wasn't
going to
enough
say there
filling.
wasn't enough filling. It seemed
Yeah.
to me more pastry and topping than actual filling.
Yeah.
I would have struggled to
concur.
have told you there was two kinds of apples in it.
Yeah, same.
I
Same.
almost
It was
struggled
still
to
good.
tell
It
there
was
was any
still good.
apples in it, but
Yeah, it was still good, but it wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't quite.
Well, Caitlin had the barrel of chunky monkeys,
Oh yeah,
which
tell
is
us about that.
a whole lot of monkey business with this hot chocolate, they say, inspired by our chunky monkey pie, 65% Inea dark chocolate with house-made banana caramel syrup, topped with whipped cream, chocolate drizzle and candied banana chip streusel, served with a mini chunky monkey pie, double butter crust, dark chocolate ganache, banana cream, whipped cream and chocolate drizzle. The pie itself was nice. Caitlin's hot chocolate was absolutely delicious. It was the perfect. It wasn't too bitter as a dark chocolate. It wasn't too sweet. I really, really enjoyed her hot chocolate.
Nice.
Both the hot chocolates I thought were excellent.
Did she enjoy
recommend
yours?
The pie hole. She thought mine was a bit too sweet. She's not a white chocolate fan,
Yeah.
which is why she went for the other one. But yeah, both. Definitely recommend both those ones, and if you can check out the pie hole, I'd go
Yeah,
do
the
that.
pie hole was great. The key lime pie was delicious. It's hard to make a bad key lime pie, in my opinion. And like my daughter, well, all of us loved the s'mores cookie heated up. It was great.
When Caitlin saw the picture you sent, she was like, "Oh, 'cause she loves a s'mores cookie."
Yeah. Now, like you said before on the show, none of this stuff is like cheap, because when I went in, I said to my wife, I said, well, let's just get I said, you want this kind of, they have it, we can take it home. We don't even have to eat it now. Because we're gonna go eat a meal in an hour and a half or whatever. So you can have it here. We'll just take that home. And she's like, no, she's like, I can't spend whatever was like $14 on the mini one. She's like, I feel bad enough spending $7 on a slice or whatever it was. So I was like, okay, whatever you want. So we did that way. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
it's not cheap.
it is pricey.
Yeah.
But I think I feel this was good value. I've been to some in previous years where you're like, it's a very small cake. Like one of the ones we've looked at, you get one caramel-filled chocolate with it. And it's like, yeah, it's a handmade chocolate, so obviously it's expensive, but it's like one with what looks like quite a small hot chocolate as well. And I'm like, Because to me, as I said last week's show, the cake or the sweet treat with it is equally important when you're paying that money. Because I recommend the Pie Hall. What we were trying to avoid this year is we didn't want to go back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, because it is a lot. And I wanted to try and do a Saturday or a Sunday and a midweek one and a Saturday and a Sunday. But because of the snow, we were going to go on Tuesday. I didn't feel like it. And then the snow hit on Wednesday and we didn't get out. So we've done back-to-back this weekend. And I'm still alive. I'm still alive to tell the tale.
Are you regretting it?
No, because the one we went to today is my favourite one so far this year. And I cannot recommend this one enough. It was Broyer Cafe and Bakery on 6414 Fraser Street in Vancouver. It's a Japanese, Vietnamese fusion cafe.
Yeah, you told me about this.
So they do banh mi sandwiches, they do filled croissants, they've got a whole bakery thing.
Sounds delicious.
I've not been before because I'm not in Fraser and 49th area as much as I'd like to be, because whenever I do go, we find all these really cool places to go to round about there. So we need to go and explore it more. But they've got 3 options. 2 are on all festival long and 1 starts on the 27th. But we went for number 35 in the festival guide, Temptation Tango. It's available for the whole festival. And it is an exquisite coconut coffee hot chocolate where Belgium Callebaut dark chocolate lends its rich elegance. Indulge in the fusion of tropical coconut and bold coffee, expertly crafted to create a tantalising hot chocolate like no other, served with a slice of coconut coffee cake or Vietnamese coffee cake. So we had one of each, so we could have half each. And first of all, the hot chocolate was absolutely amazing. It had no whipped cream. It's the first one we've had this festival.
Oh, yeah. I saw your picture, yeah.
Which I try and avoid whipped cream at the best of times, but during the festival, if it comes with whipped cream, I have it with whipped cream because that's what they've created. So this was magnificent. The chocolate and the coffee together, it was so good. Vietnamese coffee I do love. And it had coconut shavings on it, and it just worked perfectly. It's got a rich foam on it as well, that kind of like a crema cappuccino style foam. That was tremendous. But the cakes, I will be going back to this cafe, because the Vietnamese coffee cake in particular, and it comes in a kind of almost chocolate Oreo base, graham cracker base maybe, and it's coffee infused. These 2 cakes were to die for. They were absolutely amazing. I cannot recommend this enough. Broyer Cafe and Bakery, 6414 Fraser Street.
See, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I would not have ordered any of those things that you described. But they do. I see how you would enjoy them. I would also I would highly recommend Pie Hole if you can get to any of their locations. It was delicious, and yeah, the Langley one looks newer. It's on the one-way in downtown Langley on Fraser Highway, and it's a really nice place to go. I mean, there's a few nice places or awesome places to eat and get food on the one way there in Langley, but it's you're right. It's quite a nice little space, and if you have a sweet tooth, yeah.
If I have any teeth left by the end of this month, we'll see how that goes. And we inspired Felipe. He mentioned he was going to go to one this weekend. I haven't had the feedback from that, and I've had a couple of other folk message me as well to say that after listening to our segment, they're going to go and check this out. So we'll be back next weekend with another Hot Chocolate Boy.
Every girl yelling, wanting him to be the terror. Hot chocolate boy, he's a sensation. Hot chocolate nation, hot chocolate. chocolate boy.
Well, I guess we should probably start talking about football now. It feels like we're about 20-25 minutes into this show and we haven't talked about football yet. We've talked about snow, we've talked about hot chocolate. Let's talk about something else that's going to be hot this year. Vancouver Whitecaps.
That's what the timestamps are for, right?
Yes. Come for the hot chocolate, stay for the Whitecaps.
There you go.
That could be the marketing at BC Place. I don't know that they need much marketing because their ticket sales are going through the roof.
Yeah.
We mentioned on last week's show about the Golden Era pack, the 4-game pack, which was going to be the 50th anniversary game against Austin, the home season opener against RSL. No, not against RSL, against Charlotte. Then the next home game against RSL, and then, of course, the Messi match. That was insanely received on Monday. And I went into it just at one point, just out of curiosity, and the queue was over 5,000 long to get, even to buy the tickets. And I was like, wow. It's been so successful that they've opened up the Upper Bowl for those 4 matches. I believe season ticket holders are getting a pre-sale, I think even starting Monday, to get single tickets for games.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah. So it's limited for just a couple of tickets per season ticket holder. So I imagine this Messi match is going to sell out pretty quick. I watched the Ball is Round podcast, or a bit of it, on YouTube tonight. I was working on stuff. I saw they were live. I thought I'll stick it on. So they were talking about the Montreal game.
Yeah, because are they moving to the Big O?
Yeah. I don't know. But the tickets for that already, Eve said she'd seen some for, I think she said $4,000 on Marketplace.
For the Messi?
Yeah. Now, that is dangerous to buy a ticket for that where you don't know if he's going to make it or not. Because anything could happen to any player at any time.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to go back to the original seller and go, can I get my money back? Messi didn't come. It'd be like, well, tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting choice, I think, to splash that money that early.
There are some people, though, I think, literally, who are just saying, okay, I want to make my season ticket money back for this year or maybe next.
And again, I understand that. I don't like it. And I do have genuine concerns that there's going to be big swaths of empty stadium for some of these other games. Because folk either just won't come, they haven't been able to sell their ticket or whatever. I hope that's not the case, and the Whitecaps are playing entertaining enough football.
It will be interesting to see how it impacts the overall ticket marketplace, right? For like secondhand tickets, obviously you could sell them through. Can't you sell them through Ticketmaster if you want?
Yeah,
but then just the non-traditional ways to sell tickets, it'll be interesting to see what it does to that.
And Ticketmaster's got their dynamic pricing model as well, that the more the demand and more expensive the ticket is and stuff like that. Which I'm not a big fan of either, because if there's a gig I want to go to, like Idols, I'd like to buy my ticket for it. I got it for $49 plus fees. The next night, tickets, because there's hardly any left, is $59. And it's like, I don't like that. Just have your ticket price.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other rant I won't go into just now. But the Whitecaps, their pre-season is in full flow. No new additions for the Whitecaps this week, although it was revealed that veteran goalkeeper Joe Bendick is in the training camp. 34 years old now, former Timber, former TFC player. He's also played with Orlando, Columbus, most recently with Philadelphia Union in his 12 MLS seasons so far. He made 8 appearances for Philly last year, 7 of them as a starter. But over the last 5 seasons, he's played very limited games. And it was a strange one. You're shaking your head, because it's like when you saw it, you messaged me, and I had seen it as well. And it's like, it's strange. It might just be to get him fit. He might have been in the area. They just need another body. I don't think it's that. I think they are genuinely looking at him to maybe be in a battle with Isaac Boehmer for the number 2 spot. I'd rather have Isaac, but Isaac does need to play serious minutes, and him riding the pine for 34 games a season isn't going to help his development either. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I was shaking my head. I just don't rate Joel Bendik.
Well, that's the other thing as well. I don't either.
And it's not just because he played for, TFC or the Timbers or whatever. Like I remember I think it was like his first year in Orlando. And I didn't understand. For some reason, like he hadn't been there that long. And the supporters in Orlando did like a giant display of him. Like I think a rigged giant like Joel Bendik. He is a part of our history. He is whatever. I was just like, what has the dude ever done for you? And I'm like, I don't think he's been that good, period. I don't think he's been that good for you. And like, why are you honoring him? Like, anyways, I've never really rated the guy. And so in that way, I don't think it's the best move. However, philosophically, like you were alluding to, I think it's a wise move in terms of bringing in someone who's a veteran who can step in should the need arise. I'm okay with that philosophy for them. I think it can work for them, and I think I don't know, it was last time or earlier in this offseason, I said I would also be okay too if they just say, hey, like, yeah, Bulmer is going to play every time he can for WFC2, and then he is the number 2 and he will play, and they ride him. They're like, he's our number 2. We're happy with him. We trust him. We know what he's done for us. We know what he can do.
And he's got better year upon year as well.
So I'd be happy if they did that, but I see the wisdom in bringing in a wise veteran keeper, kind of like they sort of did with Cody Cropper. But to me, Cody Cropper was never at the level. Like I would say Bendik's a better keeper than Cody Cropper. And so, So anyways, bringing in someone more experienced who's you have more assurance in, that then allows you to say, okay, Bulmer, you're not coming on this trip. You're going and playing in MLS Next Pro or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, if Bendik's happy with that, which I imagine he would, because he has been playing limited minutes, and at one point he was the number 3. I forget if it was with Philly or someone else, but he was the third choice keeper. So he knows he's coming to the end of his career. I think I probably rate him a little bit higher than you in that he is a serviceable MLS keeper.
Oh, I think he's serviceable. I just don't think he's on the higher end of the serviceable.
No, I think that there's certainly been better ones in the league. Like, we had Evan Newton here. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because of family things. He needed to be back in the US. But it's like, I would have loved him to still have been here and been the number 2. He was such a good keeper.
Didn't we also have Bush for a half a season?
Yeah, Evan Bush as well. Yeah.
All
the Evans.
I feel like, if my memory's not wrong, isn't Joel Bendik also the keeper who got like the short end of the stick in Toronto because they brought in Julio Cesar for that half season to get him ready for the World Cup?
Oh,
I think he will. I'd have to double check that.
I'd have to check that as well. But yeah, but Isaac, he needs to play. He needs to develop, and just by sitting on the bench every week, that's not going to happen. So he needs these WFC 2 games. So yeah, you can have Bendik on for some. Then you've got the situation, heaven forbid, something happens to Takaoka and he's out. Now, he could get sent off as well and could get suspended. Like, anything can happen. Or, as Vanny talked about, it's maybe not wise to have him play every single game. And you've got Leagues Cup, and you've got Champions League, and you've got Canadian Championship. I think we can maybe think Isaac will be the Canadian Championship keeper, but we thought that last year, and it didn't necessarily prove to be that. But if Yohi was out for whatever reason, it's like, do you then say to Isaac, well, you're the guy that's coming in, you've been playing MLS Next Pro regularly, you've had some good games, or do you say to Bendik, you've been on the bench for all these games, you're the guy that moves up? That's when it's going to be an awkward choice for Vanny, and that'll be when it's very interesting to see if that happens, what decision is then made for that.
Yeah, I just double checked. Bendik was the guy who was at Toronto FC 2013 to 2015 when Julio Cesar was brought in for a half a year or something so that he could be ready for the Brazilian World Cup.
Wow. I remember that now that you mentioned that. That was nuts. I mean, they got a top keeper.
Yeah.
It's like absolutely fantastic keeper they brought in, but it's like, you wonder what that does for team harmony. It's like, why would a player want to stay with that club, but you've just screwed him over like that?
Yeah, but Toronto, that feels maybe par for the course, no?
Yeah, they've not had a busy week either, really.
Good old Joe Bendick.
Yeah, but although it's not official whether they might be looking to add him or not, 2 departures were confirmed last week. We won't go too much into them because we talked about them when it was first rumoured on the show. But Simon Becher off to Denmark top tier side AC Horsens. The Whitecaps will retain a percentage of the future transfer fee. The fee hasn't officially been confirmed. It was reported at the time it was going to be 400,000, which is good business for a super draft pick.
It's amazing business.
It's tremendous.
Was it 2 years here? Was he
Yeah.
here 2 years or 1 year? 2 years.
Well, I mean, he was 2 years here, but just 1 year with an MLS contract.
Yeah, right. So they paid him. It cost them nothing, and they paid him way under $400,000. And did they invest anything else into him? We could debate that, but it's a great bit of business.
But then he also scored some very crucial goals for them as well.
that adds to the great bit of business. I think.
Exactly. I mean, last year, after he signed his MLS contract with the first team, Becher scored 7 goals in 6 starts and 25 appearances across all competitions. Now, that included that MLS record that he set for the fewest minutes played to score his first 4 career goals, which is a bizarre record. I mean, this is a case of just getting stats and records for the sake of it in one regard, but we'll take it because it's a Whitecap and we love Simon. Now, I was disappointed he didn't build on that, and I was like, oh, he's going to be the starter by the end of the year if he keeps this up. He's going to put himself in the US national team mix, all these things. And then for whatever reason, and as we talked about when this first started, I meant to ask Vanny about that, ran out of time. So maybe something I will address with him down the line. But he never pushed on the way I hoped. His appearances were limited, and then because of that, he wasn't firing on all cylinders. But he showed what a good player he was. The year before in MLS Next Pro, he was excellent, earned that MLS first team deal. He also became the first WFC2 player to score for the first team when he had a call-up as well. In a Cavallini ball that came to him, and then he tucked that away. We've spoken to Simon several times on the show. I have a lot of time for him. He's a great kid. He's not really a kid, but to me, he's a kid. He's a great guy. I wish him nothing but the best and success over in Denmark. I hope he goes and lights it up because he deserves it. He's got his head screwed on. He's got the right attitude, and he's got all the attributes to be a really, really good player.
Yeah, Sam, I wish him all the best and hope this is another positive step in his footballing journey.
I'm sad to see him go. I would have loved him to have stayed here, broken in, made the breakthrough. Hopefully, Levante Johnson can be the guy that does that now.
Sadly, Michael, sometimes players come and they just don't make the breakthrough.
Yeah. I mean, it is the case, as maybe with a certain Brazilian midfielder as well, that also departed. It's been rumoured for a long time, but it was officially confirmed by the Whitecaps on Saturday that they transferred Caio Alexandre to Brazilian side Fortaleza EC. And then Fortaleza immediately flipped him to fellow Brazilian side Esporte Clube Bahia. I'll probably murder that name, but yeah. The transfer was automatically triggered because of Caio's performances during his loan spell with Fortaleza. But he had done so well that Bahia wanted to get him. Now, the fee that the Whitecaps got from Fortaleza hasn't been confirmed. Transfer Market, though, lists the transfer fee between the two Brazilian sides to be $4.5 million US, of which the Whitecaps get a cut as well for a sell-on fee. So another really good bit of business. I believe it was rumoured that the fee of him coming in initially was $4 million. So we don't know exactly whether they've made a profit, whether they've recouped that. This is another, I was excited by what he could offer, but we never got to see the real Caio here, which is, I think, a shame because he had a metatarsal fracture in his left foot and then a left hand fracture, and his appearances were basically limited. He made 15 appearances across all competitions, 1 assist, didn't really get to show what he could do. Maybe he'll come back to MLS one day down the future, but another player that I wish all the best to.
Yeah, I was looking at the transfer market. I think listed him as 3.6 million move to the Whitecaps. So yeah, you hope they recouped and even made a little bit. And if they did, then again, kudos to them because that's good business.
Yeah, he looked such a talented guy, and it would have been great to see him make the breakthrough here. But some guys just don't. And South Americans as well. It can be hit or miss. They can go back and just light it up back in South America as well. Like Octavio Rivera's done well. Pedro Morales, when he went back to South America, did well. But yeah, Caio, be interesting to see how his career trajectory goes now, because he's really impressed in this loan spell. So let's see if he can push on now.
Yeah.
So the Whitecaps pre-season is now well underway, and the first 2 matches are now in the books. I'm recording this bit with Zach on Sunday night, so I'll splice in what happened in the Monday game before we drop the podcast, so we can only talk about the first game. But the Whitecaps kicked off the start of the 2024 pre-season with a 1-0 victory over Hungarian First Division side VTK, I'll just call them. I won't even try and pronounce. Oh yeah, why not? Let's have a go. Diasgiori.
Oh, that sounds good.
That sounds good. It's got all these weird accents above the letters, so who knows?
They're not weird, Michael. They're just different to what you're used to.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry to Peter Zimmerman. I'm sure he can correct me if my pronunciation of Diasgiori is not right. I'm going with that now. I feel confident. So Saturday morning, 1-0 win at the Marbella Football Centre. Canadian striker and 2024 MLS Superdraft pick Nicolas Fleuriot-Chateau, probably butchered that name as well, he scored the lone goal and the winner in the 65th minute. His first appearance for the club, his first goal for the club, and normally in a pre-season friendly I'd be like, do you need to do a back somersault to celebrate? But this was his first goal in a pro setup and his first appearance for the club. I think he merited a little back somersault.
Was it Andre Lewis who did one, like fell down?
Yes, he did it in Victoria. I was at that game and then he slipped.
Yeah. That was quite...
You don't want to do that, and especially in a pre-season friendly. But
it was a tidy finish.
It was a nice finish. Right place, right time, good finish. And he had some good movements from the highlights that we could see. And he comes very highly recommended. He was picked in the 3rd round, 74th overall, but his scouting report was very high. And the feeling was that he wasn't picked because he's not the biggest forward, but he's listed at he's listed at 5'10", sorry. That's a decent size for a forward for me, but also because he's Canadian, it puts clubs off. And he's not an academy product, so he would have to take up an international spot. So you have to be really good for clubs to take an interest. I feel he's really good. Like he's a product out of Ottawa. He scored 14 goals in 2023. He had a comeback season because he tore his ACL in 2022. So again, that is potentially going to put some teams off, but he knows the way to the back of the net. We spoke about this when the Whitecaps drafted him. We hope to sit down with him actually this week. We'd mentioned to Nathan, I'd like to speak to both the draft picks that were taken in the 2nd and the 3rd round, just to get to know them. We like to do that on the show, as you know, every year. Definitely with Chateau now, and as a Canadian as well. You still imagine that he's going to be featuring for WFC too, but he's putting himself out there, and that's what you want to do. You want to impress in the opportunities given to you, and so far so good.
I thought there was like an embargo for you interviewing the draft picks.
We broke that last year.
Oh, okay.
Because none of them left.
Right.
I think it was 2021 that was my nightmare, but the first four people I spoke to that year in the podcast all left the club, including Theo Bear.
Yeah.
It was
Before-
like the
before first kick.
AFTN jinx. Yeah,
It was like before first kick, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a horrible curse, but it was broken last year, thankfully. JC Gando we spoke to, and he's still around, so that's good. Levante Johnson we spoke to, and he's still around.
There you
And
go.
both on the MLS roster as well. A guy that will be missing for a spell, though, and didn't feature in this game is Ali Ahmed.
That's not
Tough one for him, for both club and from a Canadian point of view, and we'll talk a little bit about Canada in part 4. But it was confirmed that he's been struggling with a groin injury, and it's the same injury that Ranko had a couple of years ago. And Vanny spoke in his post-game from this friendly on Saturday about that they've looked at the options. They thought, can he play through it? But every time he takes to the pitch, he's feeling this niggle. And it was the same with Ranko. He went and got surgery, and he's been totally fine since. He hasn't felt it, and you saw he was like an Iron Man almost last year. And that's the feeling that they're like, let's get Ali to get the surgery done now. He'll miss a couple of weeks. He might even be back for first kick, but he'll miss the preseason. He'll miss the Canada game at the end of March probably as well. But if this can make him healthy for the full year, it's the correct decision.
Yeah,
and we've seen before players that haven't had surgery done scooter,
yeah.
and it's really cost him in the end.
Yeah, this seems like a wise decision based on what we know, and you just hope that he recovers well and quickly and is able to kick on, because he has been a real bright spot, not just for the Whitecaps, but as you alluded to, the national team. I was really impressed with his performances for the national team.
Yep, he's done well, and you'd hope he can push on from that now as well. But if he can get this done and come back, I mean, we both spoke the high hopes we've got from this year for both club and country, and it's a sad start to his year, but this is definitely the best road to get this done and make him healthy. So for the first pre-season friendly, Sartini started the side in a 4-3-1-2 formation with a diamond midfield. The starting 11 included 10 returning players and Damir Krylak, with Krylak and Levante Johnson and Ryan Gauld the front three. Now, interesting in a number of areas in this, because is this going to be the preferred option? Is he going to look at a few different formations in pre-season before settling on what to go? You've got the likes of Fafa Picault, that's a winger, so is that going to maybe make an adjustment for some games if he's a starter, or maybe off the bench? 4 at the back as well, where I think a few of us thought he might be going with that 3 at the back formation.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the most intriguing things about this opening friendly, was to see him play 4 at the back, and then it was Gold behind Krylak and Levante, right? Encouraging sign that Vanny is once again showing that he has the ability to be tactically flexible, and obviously only for this I was only able to watch the highlights, right? So you don't get to see all the nuances and the change. And was it a true back 4? Yeah, I know he's played where it's a back 4, but it starts as a back 4, but doesn't really look like a back 4 for most of the game. But I don't know. I was kind of encouraged by that, and it'll be interesting to see if, like you say, if that is if this is how he sees them primarily playing, right? With Gold behind 2 strikers and 3 midfielders behind Gold and 4 at the back.
Yeah, and then the second match, which took place in the early hours of Monday morning Vancouver time, was against another Hungarian side, the Puskás Academy, who, although they're called Academy, they are a top-flight Hungarian side. And the Whitecaps went down to a 2-0 loss. Vanni Sartini went with another 4-3-1-2 starting lineup. It was a fairly even first half, 9 changes made by the Caps at half-time, and it looked like it was heading to be a 0-0 draw before the Puskás Academy scored 2 goals in the final 10 minutes to come away with a 2-0 victory. Whitecaps have 2 more games left in their pre-season camp in Spain. They take on Serbian top-flight side FK TSC Baka Topola on the 27th, and then round things off with a game against Norwegian side FK Haugesund on the 30th of January before flying back to Vancouver. So we'll see how all of those things go. One man that made his Whitecaps debut though in that match against the Puskás Academy was winger Fafa Picault. He started, he got 34 minutes just to ease himself into the team. Vanni had noted that he is still getting up to speed with the rest of the squad after starting pre-season, just a couple of weeks really behind the rest of the guys. We'll see what Fafa can bring to this Whitecaps team for this season, but I got a chance to sit down and chat with him after that game against Puskás on Monday, and we'll be back with that and our song from our album of the month this month from English band James after this.
Hi, I'm Simon Becher, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's my disease. Give me a standing ovation and your sympathy. Poor old Johnny N set himself on fire again. See the genie on his high wire act. At the back of his mind lies a suicide pact. Poor old Johnny N set himself on fire again. See the young men itching to burn, waiting for their own star turn, needing danger. A war would do. If they can't let it out, they'll pick on you. Poor old Johnny N set himself on fire again, on fire again. Poor old Johnny N set himself on fire again.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our song from our album of the month for this month from 1986, Manchester band James. It's their debut album Stutter, and that is the song from it, Johnny Yen. You can also find it featured on some of the band's greatest hits, best of singles, compilations. It's a song touching on the concept of being an outsider in music, a tortured artist, inspired by the Iggy Pop song Lust for Life, the opening line of which is, "Here comes Johnny Yen again." Definitely one of the standout tracks from James's debut album. Hope you have enjoyed that, and all the songs we've played so far from Stutter, you can find it in all the usual places. And we've got one more song to come from the band in next week's show. We're going to get back to the football chat now and bring you the first of our two featured interviews in this episode. We talked about his signing last week, the Gazelle, Fafa Picault. The MLS veteran, now a Vancouver Whitecap, has had stints in Italy, the Czech Republic, St. Pauli in Germany. He's been in MLS since 2017, played with Philly, Dallas, Houston, Nashville. 2 caps for the US national team, switching to Haiti in 2023 and got 5 caps for the Haitians last year. In 313 career club appearances, he scored 67 goals, added 31 assists. In MLS, 48 goals and 24 assists from his 202 appearances in the league. Was with Nashville in 2023, where he got 9 goals across all competitions, including scoring in the semi-final and the final of the League's Cup. Free agent at the end of the season, the Whitecaps have picked him up. He's now going to be playing in blue and white this coming season for Vancouver. I got a chance to sit down with Fafa this week Sadly, not in person, as they are over in Marbella, and I am stuck here in snowy, cold Vancouver. But we had a good chat about his career so far, what he hopes to bring to Vancouver, and a lot more. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, sit back and enjoy our chat with the gazelle, Fafa Picault. So, Fafa, thank you so much for joining us on the show. First question, I guess, to ask is, how is life treating you at the Whitecaps and down in Spain?
It's great so far. Getting to know the guys, the group, obviously staff, and the weather's been pretty good. It's picking up even nicer now. So, just getting back into a rhythm of training and under new tactics and everything. But the guys are all great, so it's an easy adaptation.
So when did you first learn of Vancouver's interest? How did this whole move come about? Because as a free agent, you obviously had a lot of options, I'm sure. So how did the Vancouver move come about?
I knew about it for a little while. Obviously, it took a lot of decision making to look at obviously the technical tactical side, city side. Um, a lot of different things came into play, the project of the team, and I think the direction that we were going or we can go this year was very appealing. So it ultimately affected my decision, and also the opportunity to come play for Vanny was definitely exciting as well. So everything affected it. I know Vancouver's an amazing city. The players are all cool guys and very good players as well. So it was didn't take me too long. We just had to figure out the details and got me over here.
Well, we're certainly delighted to have you here in Vancouver. I've long admired your play in MLS, and I mean, you bring something different to this team that we haven't had. Vanny hasn't used wingers a lot, and I mean, is it fair to say maybe Vancouver's attacking style might also suit you a little bit better than, say, Nashville, where I guess Gary plays more of a counter-attacking style of game, and this will maybe allow you to be a little bit more offensive?
Definitely. When making the decision, I definitely thought of it, and I do believe that I'm going to be a bit closer to the goal a bit more often, and have more chances to create for both myself and for other players. So, using the pace forward instead of as much back will be definitely a positive, I believe, this year, and it's going to increase, I think, not just my stats but also guys around me.
And you got your first run out in a game this morning as well, or I guess this afternoon, your time. Got just over half an hour under your belt. How did you feel out there? How far away do you feel you are to getting up to speed with the rest of the guys?
Um, Obviously it's the first game. It was a nice chance for me to start to fight for my second lung, as we say. And I think obviously it's one game, but that's important to me because I'm not a guy that takes a lot to come back. Maybe some guys are a bit different, but my body, the way it is, it takes me a really quick turnaround to get in shape. So these games are very important for me to get involved in them, because obviously training is great and setting up the base for the year and preparation is important. But these games definitely put me in a different state physically because it's the most realistic form of fitness that you'll get. So I think I'm obviously nowhere close to where I want to be, but I think the next week and change are going to get me to where I need to be for the season.
Well, circle back if we've time at the end about the Whitecaps season. I want to talk a little bit about your journey to this stage, your career so far, and it's been such an interesting journey for you, and like reading stuff about you for a number of years now. When did you first know that you had what it took to be a professional footballer?
I'd say, I mean, it was something that I thought I was a professional. If you ask my dad, I thought I was close when I was 5 years old. I was a very confident kid, and And the good thing is my father always pushed me. He always allowed me to dream, and he always told me that I was close, knowing that I was far, but he allowed me to keep dreaming and always told me, "Hey, you're almost there. Keep pushing." And I didn't know how much I had to keep pushing, but it was encouraging. And I think around my early teens, um, it was difficult because a lot of guys hit their growth spurt before me, and um, I didn't come into that new, I guess, early adult body of mine yet. But as I saw it started to come in around 13, 14, 15 years old is where I saw my speed pick up even more. Um, and different things just started to come around my game to complete it. And I realized that it would definitely be something. And then a year later on, I was moving to Italy.
Yeah, I mean, that was such an amazing thing to do at the age that you did as well. But I mean, going back also to your family, like I know your dad played indoor soccer. I know your granddad played for the Haitian national team as well. Was that always going to be the path that you followed? Football's obviously been in your blood since a very early age and in your family.
Oh, definitely. In our family, we're full of football and the arts. I have a lot of musicians as family, and then a lot of footballers. One I think is familiar in Canada. He's a distant cousin on my mom's side. Is Patrice Bernier. So we talk pretty often. But watching him, I believe my first time watching him live was Jamaica, Canada in Miami. I think I was about 11 years old or 12. I don't remember
Wow.
the year precisely. And that was the first time me seeing him live. And then I think fast forward 14, 15 years later, we were playing against each other in MLS when he was at Montreal. So we changed jerseys that game, and it was really cool, a really cool moment. But he's a class act, and I'm pretty sure you ask around, and so it's nice to see how he handled his career and the quality of career he had, but also off the pitch, the kind of man he is. So these are great influences that I've been fortunate to have around me during my childhood and also my early adulthood.
I mean, that's fantastic. And like going to Italy at the age of 16, that's such a brave decision to do, to go to another country just at any time in your life, but to go at 16, to leave your family, to go to a whole different language, a whole different culture. I mean, I know things didn't always go well there. I read
Yeah.
your article that you wrote on the Dallas website back in 2020, but to make that decision, what spurred you to do that?
To be honest, it was either that or take the risk of potentially not having a career. I think before, if you look back in 2007, how football was in the States and how we were considered worldwide, I knew it would take something special to even have a chance at having a career because we weren't. I don't think. I think the stereotype of footballers in America was not so much, we're talented or we're beyond multicultural, so we have just as many backgrounds as, let's say, a France or a Belgium. Just the fact we're born here. Um, we've I knew that if I stayed, I could have gone the college route, but at the time there was also stigma towards size. I think in our football here in the country, it was a bit more. We didn't consider players of my stature were not usually receiving the positive end of it. I think it's changing a bit now to where we're opening up more to different statures and different styles of players. But back in my time when I was younger, it was not a guarantee that I had a chance at making it. So moving to Europe, moving to Italy was almost a no-brainer. I didn't think of it much back in the day. It was just like it was my dream. It was the capital of football at the time. It was a big. That's when Serie A was very, very high, and obviously I knew I'd be far from my family, but my father supported me fully. My mom did as well. As long as I kept a GPA over a 3.6, I was allowed to stay over there. That was the conditions. That was my personal contract with my mom. Um, and so I continued my schooling. I worked hard, and it was a lot of sleepless nights because of the time difference. And I was kind of a guinea pig with the online system at the time. We didn't really have that set up like now. But it was amazing, and everything was worth it to kind of get my career started. It was a great base for my career.
And I mean, you've spoken about the tough times that you had there, the racism, and I've just seen it this weekend. It still hasn't got any better over in Italy all these years later. What did you learn about yourself in that time? How did that shape you to the man that you are today?
Yeah, it made me a man very quickly. I think when you go through certain things and you don't have, obviously my parents supported me fully. Some things I kept from them because my dad taught me to, to face challenges and to overcome them. And my mom was always a great support system as well. And even though I didn't tell them everything, I knew I had them back home to support me. But at the same time, at that age, you have to go through certain things alone, and you don't have so many people to just lean on to and kind of give up. I knew if I left right away, it would just mean me going back to what I was doing before, and I wanted to achieve something, and I wanted to accomplish my dream. I think without those hurdles, I would have had a much easier career much early on, already breaking in just off of what I was doing football wise. But also, I wouldn't have become the tough man that I became, and it allowed me to not be fearful of anything that comes my way. I've had a lot of other hurdles throughout my career, but when I see them, it's almost laughable just because of all that I had to go through earlier on, and it made me a tougher man, and it made me also a more compassionate man. When I see a younger kid in the locker room, or I'm still tough on them because I'm old school, but I want them to feel like some of the older guys made me feel when I was going through tough times, and there were still some guys that were amazing to me, and because of some of them, I'll never forget, even now at 32, um, how it felt to be in a locker room with some of them, and that kept me going. So there's so many components, but ultimately, I'd say it just made me a tougher man, and it built the person that I am today.
I mean, if anyone hasn't read Fafa's thing on the Dallas website back in 2020, I'd read it. I mean, it's heartbreaking that you had to go through that, especially at such a young age. But at least you did get a decent, better experience over in Europe as well. A couple of seasons at St. Pauli. I mean, that must have just been an amazing experience playing for a club like that.
Oh, it was fantastic. The St. Pauli fans are always in my heart. They I realized true passion through those fans. They were absolutely mad in the best way I can say
Yeah.
that. They were supportive on the field, off the field. If they see you out, they were supportive, and they were just, we would, whether lose or win, as long as you gave everything for the jersey, and for the badge, they supported. So there's truly a different experience, and for anybody that may feel that it's an exaggeration or even an understatement, whichever side you go on, it's something that you almost don't understand until you've gone to a match or you've experienced it as a player. I remember my mom and aunt coming to a match in St. Pauli, and they were just breathtaking. They couldn't believe it. It was amazing, and there's certain matches that have stayed in my head until now, and there's matches that I've forgotten at different places. But St. Pauli, I have so many great memories at Millentor. So I'll never forget that club.
That's fantastic. I know we don't have too much more time, so just got a couple more things just to ask you. I mean, coming to MLS then in 2017, I'm sure you could have stayed in Europe. What brought you back home?
I picked up a small injury, and unfortunately, it kind of led to some turmoil at the time, and there was some interest in First Bundesliga, but we couldn't get me out there for whatever reason or the other. And my only condition was coming back to the States. There were a few loan opportunities that I guess club or we couldn't just find an agreement on. So I ended up coming back to MLS in 2017. When we spoke to I think it was Ernie Stewart and Jim Curtin at the time. Jim, who I went on to play for, has been one of my favorite coaches of all time. Amazing guy. But that's what ultimately led me to coming back to MLS. If not, I personally probably would have stayed a bit longer. But as I've seen the league grown, it's been a great return, and I've seen it grow tremendously in these last 6 years.
The player that you were in 2017 when you came back to the player that you are now, how do you feel that you've grown in that time?
I want to say, strange enough, the I know a lot of people when discussing transfers like to hear age 19, 17, and 21 and youth and that's all great, but I think at 32 the way I've kept my body, I feel just as fast as I was and pacey and athletic, but just with more experience now even more so. Um I've learned different things and different tricks on and off the pitch to keep me healthy and to keep my legs going. I do a lot. I think I'd say what I've learned has been more even off the field, just maintenance wise and knowing how to keep the longevity of my career. For the simple fact that I don't want to be that old guy struggling on a pitch. And
Yeah.
at 32, I feel like again, I still feel as great as I was at 26, 25. So it's a great feeling to have. With more experience now, you get to cherish every moment and as we say in the culture, you feel like an OG in the locker room, but you still get to have that still get to live that youthful experience because it's football, so we all stay young at heart.
Hey, you're young to me. I'm 55, so you're just a
You're
young
looking
lad.
good, my man. You're looking
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate that. You've now become my favourite player.
Cheers. I like that. I like that.
But there's so much more I'd love to talk to you about. We'll catch up with you more when you're back here. But just the last thing to ask you for today, you made the international switch to Haiti, and
Yes.
you played 5 games for them last year. What was that feeling like for you playing for the country of your heritage, and just how proud were your family when you pulled on that Haiti jersey for the first time?
It was different, and it was a huge honor to be able to play for the country I was born in, for the USA, and be a part of that. I remember my first call up from Jurgen um, back in the day. It was 2015 or 16, and that was a great experience. And you still felt that alliance and the allegiance, sorry, to the kit and the badge and the nation because I'm born and raised here. My parents were raised here. But putting on the Haiti jersey was just different. It's a country that's so rich in resource. Unfortunately, the world doesn't see it in the last, I guess, 20, 30 years even, because of the instability and the corruption that unfortunately the daily natives have to deal with. But it's such a beautiful culture, rich in music, rich in food, rich in so many natural resources that it's something that I feel having success through our national team will not only bring joy to the people that are suffering or the people that are doing fine, but just want to see us um, bring the flag high. But it will also just bring awareness in different ways and show a positive side of Haiti that it's almost disappointing when the first thing people think of Haiti is poverty, um, because we're the first black independent country in the Western Hemisphere, earning the independence in 1804,
Oh
and
wow.
what used to be called the Pearl of the Caribbean, and now it's not seen as such,
Mm.
unfortunately, because of so many events that have transpired over the years. So a big objective of mine through football is to bring a different light to Haiti. At the same, I think all the guys are amazing. We have a beautiful group of guys that some born in France, some born in U.S., some in Canada, some born in Haiti, but we all go back to play for our roots. And I have no doubt as more guys continue to gain that desire to play for Haiti, we can have one of the best teams in CONCACAF and fight for many important things going forward. If it sees my generation within the next years, would be beautiful. But a lot of what I'm doing is trying to set something up for the next generation that's coming because there's so much talent, and I want the world to see that talent just as much as you've seen guys like myself, Jonathan David, who's roots are Haitian. He's a
Yeah.
fantastic player. Josie Altidore and many more to mention that are playing in France and some in other leagues. A lot of guys playing for Haiti. We can have a devastating national team, but it's going to take little steps and steps towards the right direction, I would say. And but it's an honor. It's truly an honor. Getting my family behind it, supporting. I had 40-something people at the Honduras game during Gold
wow.
Cup. All my family flew in. My godfather, cousins, my parents flew out. It was really a beautiful feeling. They made shirts, and just to see their support in a crowd full of Hondurans, see the Haitians as well, and then my family taking a large chunk of that space. It was beautiful. So I don't regret it at all. In fact, it's been one of the most beautiful parts of my career so far. So I'm thankful for the opportunity, and pray to continue to be able to support and play for my nation.
Oh, that's a wonderful way to end this chat. It's pleasure having you on the show, pleasure having you here in Vancouver. Look forward to seeing you in person and catching up some more, and thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your time in Spain, Fafa.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you for having me, my man.
See you when you come back to the rain and the snow.
I can't wait, man. I cannot wait.
Great stuff from Fafa there. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do in Whitecaps colours this year. As we talked about on last week's show, it just adds an extra string to Vanni Sartini's bow. It gives him more options. When we get a chance to catch up with Vanni, we'll kind of ask if this means he's going to be going for a winger system, maybe not in every game, but in some of the games. Certainly going to be something that he could maybe even change up off the bench, but bringing Picault on. I like the veteran presence. He seems hungry and raring to go. Look forward to seeing him on the pitch for Vancouver soon. That is it for this part though. Coming up next, we've got our second feature interview in this show. You've just heard from an MLS veteran. How about hearing from a CPL newbie? As we sit down with 15-year-old Grady McDonnell to chat about signing for Vancouver FC and becoming the youngest player in CPL history. We'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Ali Ahmed. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
My seed sees our dreams are made. He's my dream like I just got paid. No joyride fee is free today. We don't care what the people say. Cause he moves like a generator. He puts a foot down and see you later. Somebody call up the Undertaker. Handing out passes to meet your maker. CC, mama, CC, go, go, fuck, fuck. CC, mama, CC, go, go, fuck, fuck. CC, mama, CC, go, go, fuck, fuck. CC, mama, CC, go, fuck. Look at it go. 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 Look at it.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the new single from Idols, the English band. They've got a new album coming out next month on February 16th called Tank. That is the latest single to be taken from it. It's called Gift Horse. And I talked before about how much I love Idols. They're our former Artist of the Month here at AFTN, and how gutted I was that I wasn't able to go and see them here in Vancouver at the P&E Forum on Friday, May 3rd. Not 100% confirmed, but it's like 99% certain I'm going to be commentating that night, and unable to get to that show. Well, you can imagine how cock-a-hoop I was on Monday when it was announced that after that gig sold out, they've added a second Vancouver show the night before at the P&E Forum. Got my tickets for that in the pre-sale on Tuesday. Finally gonna go and see Idols. I cannot wait. If you haven't seen them, if you've enjoyed the music we play in the show, go get a ticket for them, and yeah, I'll see you at the P&E Forum on May 2nd. But good lyric from that song, which is why I picked it to kick off this part. Look at him go. And a young lad that I think we could be saying that to and singing that to over the course of this season is 15-year-old Grady McDonnell, the Whitecaps academy player that just signed this week for Vancouver FC, becoming the youngest player in CPL history. He's currently 15, he'll be 16 next month, beating the record already set by Vancouver FC in their inaugural season when they signed TJ Tahid. And we saw what a fantastic season TJ Tahid had, away off with Canada at the Under-17 World Cup, just back from a training stint over in Europe with Feyenoord. What lies in store for the latest new young recruit at VFC, Grady McDonnell? Well, we got a chance to sit down with Grady this week just to chat about his journey so far, coming through the Whitecaps Academy, why he's made the choice to sign for Vancouver FC, and he's currently a dual national. He's been capped at youth level by both Canada and Ireland. What lies in store for him in that regard? Well, we chat about that and a lot more as well, so go stick the kettle on again, grab a second biscuit of choice, because yes, you are worth it, and sit back and enjoy our chat with the young gun himself, Grady McDonnell. Delighted now to be joined on the show by the latest Vancouver FC signing and the youngest signing in CPL history, Grady McDonnell. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So this has obviously been in the works for a while, but I'm sure it's a bit of a whirlwind for you as well. Just talk about your emotions these last couple of days. How did all of this come about? When did you know that Vancouver FC were interested in signing you?
First of all, I'm super humbled by the experience, and I'm very grateful that Vancouver has given me this chance and opportunity. And it started off probably about a month or two ago, and they said they had interest, and they see me improving like their other youth like players like TJ and Cameron, because they've improved dramatically throughout the season, and they said they see me doing the same. And I feel like playing at VFC is where I can improve the best.
So I know you a little bit from through the Whitecaps Academy. I haven't got out to any of the 17s games or seen you actually play, but I've known about you for a while, mainly because of the call up to Ireland, which as soon as someone's got that, piques my interest a little bit as a Scottish person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've been with the Whitecaps now for a couple of years, and you're with the Prospects and Coastal before that.
Yeah.
Did you have a chat with the Whitecaps when Vancouver showed interest? What was your mindset, and what was your family's thoughts about why Vancouver FC was the best path for you now?
Well, like again, improvement. I feel like because they said second team, they said they'll try to get a contract or something, but Vancouver FC offered first, and I feel like that's where I can improve the best too, because it's experienced pros. The second team's a bit younger. They're not as experienced as these guys at Vancouver, and I see I can improve from the guys at Vancouver and learn from them, watch them. I feel like I can improve much more at Vancouver.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be in a different environment. How's this going to work with your schooling though as well? Now, I know you're 15 just now, you're 16 next month. How does the schooling aspect factor in with getting to the training with VFC?
Yeah, so I'm all online with schooling. So my routine would be train in the morning and then come back, do school, and then maybe put an extra session in. But yeah, school is also a priority for me. At school and football are the biggest priorities.
Oh, cool. So, I mean, obviously you've had this dream of being a professional footballer for a while. I think I read in the press release you've played since you were like 5 years old. When did you know that this was the career path that you wanted? When did you know that you kind of had what it took to be a professional footballer?
So it was probably during quarantine. It was like every day, like because a lot of kids stopped playing, and throughout quarantine, I was like every day, twice a day, and then when quarantine was over, we could play again. I noticed a massive improvement, and I was obsessed with the improvement, and I guess I just kept improving from then on. And yeah, I feel like all the Ireland call-ups is making me more and more like I wanna make it. I wanna play in the biggest leagues in the world.
I mean, touching on that then, let's a little bit get to know you then. What football teams are the ones that you choose to follow? Who do you support?
I like watching City play and Brighton play because their play styles are amazing, and yeah, I follow the Premier League a lot, and I watch the German league Bundesliga.
Oh, that'll please Zach then.
Who do you follow in the or who do you like to watch in the Bundesliga?
I like watching Dortmund. I like watching well, they're not in Bundesliga one. I like watching Schalke.
Ah,
Wait, you like watching Dortmund and Schalke?
Yeah, the rivals.
Yeah, okay.
that's
Why
interesting.
why Schalke?
I went on a trial with them recently, and
Okay.
I think
Nice.
I can't remember, a few months ago.
Yeah.
Do you not have a League of Ireland club from your dad? Like, does he not have a club there?
I don't follow it much. No, I don't follow it.
I mean, how's your family feeling about all of this?
They're happy for me. They're supporting me, and yeah, I think they're very happy.
Yeah, you've obviously had these camps with Ireland. You were recently called up by Canada as well. So when you look at that, you've got a lot of decisions to make ahead, and it's like just enjoy your football just now. Don't rush into anything. But did those camps feel different? Like, was there a different vibe in the Irish camp to the Canadian camp, or was it quite similar?
I'd say it's similar but different. Like the vibes with Ireland, it's like the guys over there take, I guess, football a lot more seriously, I guess you could say, and they're like, we're gonna smash these guys. We got to win this game. With Canada, like still that level of determination from some of the players, but it was like it wasn't as competitive. I would say Ireland takes it more competitively.
Yeah, I think the Celtic nations certainly do, and obviously you did really well with them. I know that you won the Victory Shield as well, so that must be a special moment in your career so far.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We won it in 2 games, I think. I don't know if that's been done before.
Oh, wow. And yet you scored against Northern Ireland as well. That must have been was that your first international goal?
No, it was the second one. Third.
Oh, third. Wow. So you're banging the goals in. So you're a midfielder. So for anyone that hasn't seen you play, which includes myself, how would you describe your game? What do you feel you can add to Vancouver FC?
I feel like I could add that grit and hard work. I feel like I'm a very hardworking kid, and offensively, I'm strong. Like defensively, I can win the ball back. Offensively, I like moving forward with the ball. I like having the ball at my feet and making things happen.
So it sounds like you're describing yourself kind of as like an 8, like a box to box.
Yeah, box to box. I can also play 10, but yeah.
Okay. And so what, like, obviously this is, Afshin's is the one who makes all the decisions, all the things, but in an ideal formation or ideal setup, where would Grady like to see himself playing? Like if you're setting yourself up, you're playing on EAFC or whatever, so you're putting yourself in the team. Where are you putting yourself? What formation are you using? Where are you putting yourself?
I'd probably say 4-3-3 and with 2 8s, and I'd put myself at one of the 8s. But
okay. The left or the right 8? Which side do you prefer?
Left, because I like driving diagonally with the ball.
Yeah, nice.
See, these are the tactical insights you get when you chat to us. Like, what players then are your inspirations? Who have you grown up watching? That's you think, I want to be like him.
I watch Jude Bellingham a lot. Like, I feel like he's great all-around player as well. He doesn't really have weakness. Watching him, yeah, he's great.
That's a great role model.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed he's English, but
yeah, but he really honed his skills in the Bundesliga. That's the important part.
Yeah, they couldn't find a Scottish granny or something for him, sadly. So it's like that didn't work out. Now, this is a team that has given young players chances, but they've also managed the minutes carefully, like TJ last year. It's like they didn't just throw him into the mix. It's much like when Alphonso Davies was with the Whitecaps. They didn't want to put too much pressure on him right away.
Yeah.
Obviously, players you put pressure on yourself, and you obviously want to perform. But what would be your kind of initial hopes for this season, without putting any too much pressure on without sharing too much that's maybe been discussed with Afshin? What's your hopes for this first pro season?
Yeah, I just want to prove myself, like every day in training. I can prove myself and eventually break into that starting lineup and then perform well and work hard and contribute to the team.
Is there any aspects of your game in particular that you feel you kind of still need to work on to take that next jump?
Well, yeah, I'm 15, but I feel like the improvement and learning from all these guys and watching them train with me, and I can like, oh, what's he doing now? And then I'll try and work on it. Yeah, I feel like I can improve a lot from looking up to these guys.
Obviously, you mentioned that you talked to TJ, but is there either one of a coach like Afshin or one of the other coaches or a player that you're most looking forward to like learning from or working with or gaining wisdom from?
I'd say Renan. Like he's had the experience overseas at San Pedro, and he's great, and I'm really looking forward to learning from him and watching him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Redden's is a fantastic role model. We spoke to him last year on the show, and like he feels he can still go for another 5 years. And he's in the gym so early, and he eats right, and like he's a model pro. And I think being in that environment and having these guys around is obviously going to be great for your growth. Yeah. Signing now, though, as the youngest player in the CPL. Do you feel any pressure from that, or are you just the kind of guy that doesn't really faze me too much?
I not too much pressure, but I know I have to perform. I know I have to play well.
So, Grady, I'm a part of, as well as doing all this stuff with Michael, which I love. I'm a part of this supporter community for Vancouver FC, specifically the Fraser Valley Fanatics, and I messaged them on our private Discord this morning and say, hey, I'm going to be talking to Grady. Do people have questions? So here's one I already asked was also from Gail, but Gail wants to know 3-year contract, which is significant, right? That's already like 20% of your current life. But in 3 years, like where do you hope you'll be in 3 years when this contract is done, or maybe even before that time?
I think Europe's the place to be for football, and that's my goal, to get over there as soon as I can, and when I feel like I'm ready. That's the goal, to get over to Europe.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's a massive Scottish club called East Fife. We would love to have you playing for us there. You can put my hat on just to
Grady,
try and win you over already.
Grady, don't listen to them. They're like 4th tier Scotland. Don't listen to them.
Yeah, but by the time that Grady signs in 3 years, we'll be in the Premier. If we've not been relegated out of the league this year, but yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's all. People wanted to know about your thinking on national team choices. Obviously, we're Canadian. Most of our people are Canadian, so they would love to see you choose Canada. But it's good to hear you share about, you've been with Ireland because there's been opportunity and more camps, and obviously you've taken some of those opportunities, which has made them want you more, and that obviously Canada want you more.
Both teams were great. They were both awesome experiences, and I still haven't made my decision yet.
Is there a timeline? Is there something coming up, whether it's where that would tie you, that you're I got to decide by this point?
Yes. Like for example, that the World Cup Canada went to, that would be cap tying, and then we have Euros with the 17s, and that would be cap tying. But I haven't cap tied to a country yet.
Yeah. When is that? 17 Euros, under 17 Euros.
It's in, I think, no, because that's elite. So we have elite phase in March. So that's I think top 16, and then after that's the actual Euros. So I think it would be sometime near the summer. So
okay. So you might have to make a decision as soon as this summer.
Yes, but then you're allowed to have one move after.
Yeah.
Switch. Okay.
Yeah, you can have the switch, and it's it's a shame, really, because it's like it's too early to make a choice for a player as well. I always feel it's a lot of pressure, and that's why we've seen folk. At least they've got the switch option now, which is good. But I mean, with Ireland, you've been playing at the 17 level as well, so you're used to playing with slightly older folk, and at the Whitecaps as well. I don't know if were you training with the older academy guys as well.
Train with second team 19s quite a lot, and then a year older with the 17s too. So yeah, I've experienced playing like with people older than me, but I think this is the jump above that. And
yeah, it'll take a little bit of time for you to find your feet. We can't wait to see you on the pitch. And yeah, you're about to go off to Turkey. Hopefully the flights and everything's going to be okay to get you off to Turkey with us.
I have no clue. Who knows? But yeah.
What time's your flight tonight?
It's at 6:30 tonight.
Okay. So you're going from this to the heat of Turkey. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Once that's done, you're back for pre-season training with the club and everything like that. Have you kind of pictured, like, when you get onto the Willoughby pitch for a game for the first time, you make your debut, have you already kind of pictured that moment in your head, family, friends in the stands?
Yeah, I think about it a lot, and I think that's going to be a great experience for me in my career to debut for Vancouver.
Well, can't wait to see it. Enjoy Turkey. I've been there once. It's a beautiful country, really friendly people, great food. Have a great time there. Enjoy the football, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again soon. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grady.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Take care. The latest Vancouver FC signing and the youngest signing in CPL history, 15-year-old Grady McDonnell, sitting down with Zach and me there, choosing Vancouver FC as the next step in his pathway over the Whitecaps WFC2. Telling us there, Zach, it's the chance to play with older guys, be around older guys, develop better than maybe in the younger squad, which of course WFC2 is. Great for Vancouver FC. You've got to imagine the Whitecaps might not be over the moon at losing one of their star academy talents.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to hear Axel's perspective on this and how this happened. And I get the sense on the Vancouver FC side that like this was not one of the ones you heard rumors about. Like we hear rumors about David Norman coming, right? You heard nothing about this. It was like bang, this is happening. So I think it's a great job by Vancouver FC to sign a player like this, to get him into
he's very highly thought of.
Yeah, an adult professional environment. One of the interesting things in that conversation there was we asked him who are you looking forward to learning from most or whatever, and he said Raymond Garcia. Right, like he's like, yeah, I want to learn from this elder statesman of the team who can help me understand how to be a professional. And yeah, I don't know, really, really exciting.
As we said to him, like we spoke to Renan, and it's like we were both, well, I think I speak for you as well. I know I was blown away just by his commitment and just his regimen even, and just how he looks after himself. And Vasco Fry talked about learning from him as well. So for a midfielder like Grady, he's such a great player to be around. And if you're going to be around the likes of a Ben Fisk, a Callum Irvin, David Norman Jr., when that gets announced, Caden Chung, Kintav, like these are guys that are going to teach you so much and a good grounding in the game. And it's like there's no right pathway for everyone. We've talked about this in the show. WFC2 is a great pathway for a number of the players. CPL is a great pathway. USL even, as shown by Mo Farsi, who betting himself went play for Columbus Crew's second team, now an MLS Cup winner. And it's like there's no right path. It's like the college route, the going into the pro route. It's like everyone is different. And it's going to be good to see Grady in this setup under Afshin, how he develops. You imagine they'll be managing the minutes much like they did with TJ Tahid last year.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's a lot of people who, at certain points of season wanted to see more TJ. And I don't know, kind of like with Alfonso Davies, with Carl Robinson and the Whitecaps, when you look back at it, you can't sort of argue against how that was handled, right? You saw Alfonso grow leaps and bounds even with his limited minutes, and in a different way, you saw TJ Daheed grow as a footballer in his limited minutes.
Yep. Away and
And
playing at a World Cup.
totally. And if the same thing happens for Grady, if he comes in and yeah, is protected and only given uh so many minutes here and there and in certain situations and only so many starts or only so many appearances or whatever, I'm happy to trust, people like Afshin got beyond that, and Rob Friend and those who have some experience with these kinds of things and even have last year to show for it.
And it's a 3-year deal. And
Yeah.
you would have to say, if he does well, much as with James Cameron going to play for Hearts B, Europe is going to be beckoning, and Grady himself said there that that's the place to be and everyone wants to be there.
James Cameron hasn't left yet. It's Lennon Thompson who went to Hearts B, right?
Oh, yes.
Sure. It's
No,
I
it is
mean,
Lennon Thompson.
yeah.
Too many
There
young
are-
guys.
There are these rumors though that there are clubs interested in Cameron sooner
Yeah.
rather than because he is already 18 and he could.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like TJ's coming back now from Feyenoord. We're actually going to be chatting with TJ this week for the next show, maybe the show after, just about how he's found that experience. And it's the same with Grady as well. It's like, get your grounding here, and if you do well, make that move to Europe, and then the world's your oyster once you get over there. And obviously he's got the Irish connection because he has played for Ireland and Canada at youth level, as we talked about. I thought it was interesting that he had said basically the Irish camps are more intense.
Well, he also said one of the reasons why he's played more for Ireland is simply that they have
More camps, yeah.
which has been part of this larger ongoing discussion about Canadian football and how it's managed and the growth and sharing of the
resources.
That's it. Sharing of the resources amongst the age levels and the pros, and yeah.
In a nutshell, just even talking about that is what I think a lot of folk have argued about the youth levels at Canada, because we qualify, and not even all the time, for these youth World Cups and stuff, but then we just struggle when we get there and we see other countries are so far ahead of us. So they need to raise the intensity, they need to get more camps, they need to put more investment in it. The resources have to go down to that level, because this is the future. And everyone's going to talk to Grady about this decision international. Don't. Let him be a 15-year-old kid. Let him be a footballer. Let him play his club soccer, and don't put this pressure on him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. I agree with that. I just looking at it though and listening to him talk a bit, I think he has a divided heart in terms of like allegiance to the countries. But when you listen and you look at some of the things he's done, like you got to think Ireland wants him bad, right?
I'd imagine so. Like it's three goals to his name already. He's won a Victory Shield, which folk might not know what the Victory Shield is, but it's all the home nations playing it. I've watched Scotland games before. We've had some at East Fife ground in years past, and they're shown live on Sky.
And one of those 3 goals is against Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
which is
big derby and
a very intense encounter, you'd imagine, even at that age.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing him. He'll be in at the camp. Pre-season starts on February 20th. It was announced, the Vancouver FC pre-season. The home opener on Sunday, April 14th against Valor. The full schedule is coming out on Tuesday, so we'll delve a little bit into that in the next show. They said they're going to be playing some pre-season friendlies against local sides. They also said MLS clubs, which is an intriguing one, because you do have the fact that the MLS season, I mean, it technically starts the day after VFC pre-season with the Miami game, but it's that weekend. Now, the Whitecaps have a bye week that first weekend. You'd imagine that is one of the MLS sides that they're looking at, but there is also an international break, which the Whitecaps are playing in, but maybe another MLS team's going to come and play them or something.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I look forward to more information on that.
Yeah, I selfishly, I hope it's a Whitecaps VFC friendly on that weekend, because that would just be fantastic to get out to. And
the weekend you're alluding to, though, that would be like Vancouver FC have been training for 4 days, and the Whitecaps will have been training for
and play 2 games against Tigres.
Exactly. So
maybe VFC won't want that packed to the rafters with fans.
Exactly. If it does happen, it'll be almost like the CONCACAF Cup, where you have Mexican teams kind of in full flow, and you have like an MLS team like, hey, we just got together a few weeks ago, right? It'll have that kind of.
I didn't think that through. That's fair enough.
But who knows? It'll be interesting to see what they meant by that whole we're looking to play MLS opposition in preseason.
Yeah, it could also just be MLS Next Pro. It could be Whitecaps too.
True. Yeah,
it's technically MLS. But
4, 5, 6 days. Yeah,
we'll get all that confirmed. We'll have the schedule complete. We'll talk more Vancouver FC and CPL in next week's show. Have another interview or 2 to bring you as well next week. That is it for the current chat about club football. We're going to turn our attention to the international scene in the next part, and we're also going to take you back to 1974, baby. And we'll be back with all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Alphonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
They turn on the heat and soon they could be completely in command. Imagine the sensation, teenage occupation. At 13 they'll be learning, and at 14 they'll be burning. But there's something in the air of which we all will be aware. But they don't care. No, 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 sir. Come join the revolution, get yourself the Constitution. Come join the revolution now. Your age, it's a teenage rampage. Turn another page on the teenage rampage now. So recognize your age, it's a teenage rampage. Turn another page on the teenage rampage now.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And we're taking you back to 1974 in this part, and kicking off this part, it's English band Sweet, who changed their name from This Sweet at the end of 1973, and that was one of their non-album singles released on January the 11th, 1974, Teenage Rampage, another iconic band from the 1970s UK glam scene. And such a distinctive sound, not just of the band, but really of the times. Although they did change their sound from glam to much more of a harder rock sound from their 1974 album Sweet Fanny Adams. And from sort of mid-74 onwards, they kind of moved themselves a little bit away from glam, which was a brave thing to do, because glam was still massive for a while after that, especially in the UK. If you're not familiar with the song, if you're not familiar with the band, you probably will know one of their other songs, Ballroom Blitz, a very famous song. It's been covered by a number of bands over the years. It was released the year before in 1973 and written about how the band were bottled off the stage in Kilmarnock in Scotland. It led to a song, and they were bottled off because they had been playing a set of songs that wasn't their hits, wasn't their best known songs, and the Scottish crowd did not like it. Tip for any bands out there: don't upset Scottish crowds. I think that's the easiest thing to say. But yes, Teenage Rampage there was the name of the song. And I'm sure Vancouver FC will be hoping for a Teenage Rampage of their own this coming season from Grady McDonnell and TJ Tahid. We'll keep our fingers crossed that goes well for them. But yep, as I said, we're taking you back to 1974 to kick off this part. And for anyone new to the podcast, in honour and to pay tribute to Vancouver Whitecaps' 50th anniversary season, all year long on the podcast and on the website, we'll be running a series of articles talking about that 1974 season. And for one part, in every podcast, we're going to kick it off with a song from this week or this month in 1974. Last week, we featured Mud's Tiger Feet, and that went up to the number 1 spot in the UK this week 50 years ago, staying there for 4 weeks and keeping Sweet's Teenage Rampage at the number 2 spot for a while as well. Old-time crooner Perry Como hit the top spot for a week with his number 1 album, And I Love You So, this week back in 1974. Terry Jacks' Season in the Sun hit the number 1 spot in Canada this week. Now, that is a song that has been sung at football games in the UK since the 70s, or a variation of it. There's a few different variations of it. The most common one, going back to the days of football hooligans, was "We had joy, we had fun, we had Rovers on their run, but the fun didn't last 'cause the bastards ran too fast." There's a few other variations of that as well. You're 16 by Ringo Starr was the number 1 single in the US, and the film The Sting was the number 1 movie in the UK, with The Exorcist still number 1 film over here in North America. Now, kicking off this section, we've kind of talked, last week we kind of did a day-to-day thing of what happened this week in 1974, but what the bulk of this section will be is play a fun song at the start and talk about the Whitecaps season this week 50 years ago. And it had been pretty quiet up to this week, which is why we haven't really kind of covered too much from the Whitecaps so far, but that all changes this week. And what we're going to do is we'll go over the stuff that happened with the Whitecaps this week 50 years ago on the podcast, and then put it out either on the Monday or the Tuesday after the podcast on aftn.ca. So you can read it at your leisure if there's anything that you missed, and it's going to be there for posterity as well. So up to this week, no team name yet, with owners indicating that it might go actually to a public vote. Now, spoiler, it didn't. The rights to an NASL team were acquired by Herb Capozzi's ownership group for $75,000. It was then announced on January 10th that from January 15th, 1974, any new additions to the league would cost owners $250,000. So a huge increase into what the Whitecaps ownership group was to pay. Vancouver still had no team name. The Whitecaps moniker was to come soon. We'll talk about that in a show coming up in a few weeks. They had no manager in place, no players, and they didn't even have a confirmed place to play, although they were targeting Empire Stadium. And all of that with less than 4 months before the 1974 season kicked off. GM Denny Veach told media on January the 10th that they were talking to 3 prospective head coach candidates, one in Vancouver, one in Eastern Canada, and one in the UK. Now, it was reported that English defenders Bobby Cram and Peter Dinsdale, both of whom played for Vancouver Royals, Cram in 1968 and Dinsdale in both their seasons in 67 and 68, they were both linked to the job, and both had stayed living in Vancouver after their time with the Royals was over. Fast forward a week though to January 17th, And Veach then told media that the club had been interviewing 8 prospective head coaches, 4 from Vancouver, 2 that were based in the US and 2 in the UK, saying, "You can say we have one definite preference and one definite second choice. We hope to make the decision very shortly, but we are being very careful, bearing in mind the task facing the man we choose. He must have a good public image as well as good coaching abilities, and he must also have good contacts in the world of soccer, since it will be his job to put the team together for an inaugural season." So, no sporting director to help out, no scouting department. The coach that was to be in place was basically responsible for assembling a team that could compete in a new league in less than 4 months. And he hadn't even been appointed yet. So a tough task, and you can kind of understand why they maybe had to expand the search, because I'm sure there's a few coaches that were like, yeah, we fancy the job, but it does seem quite a lot to ask of us. Now, the 1974 NASL US College Draft took place this week, 50 years ago, on Wednesday, January 23rd. There were 4 rounds, conducted by telephone between the 15 teams. No internet or easy ways of communication in those days. It was the 3rd NASL draft overall in their 7th season as a league, and the league was continuing to grow, continuing to expand. There were 8 new teams in the league for that 1974 season, with another one of the 4 West Coast expansion sides, the LA Aztecs, having the first pick. Vancouver had the 7th pick in the first round. Going into the draft, Philadelphia Atoms had made an offer to Vancouver for their pick. Wasn't revealed at the time what it was, and Vancouver turned that sort of approach down. Denny Veach, though, played down the draft, telling media the day before that he didn't expect to draft players beyond the first round, except maybe to acquire trade bait. He said, "I've seen all 4 top university teams in the US. St. Louis University has easily the most outstanding squad, but I'm convinced we have equally talented players right here in BC." Because the whole point of this Vancouver side is they wanted to make it Canadian. They had to have a minimum of 4 Canadians on the roster, but they were targeting to have a bulk of this roster, if not all the roster, being Canadian, and the more local guys they could get, the better. So Veach kind of playing down the draft, but in the end, Vancouver actually drafted 4 players, 1 in each round. Forwards, Steve Bauman from the University of Pennsylvania went with their first round pick in number 7 spot. Mark Mathis from Quincy University, Illinois, another forward, along with 2 Ethiopian players, forward Takeda Elemu and defender Yarigal Gebreyesus. They both played with UCLA, and I struggled really to find much details about Gebreyesus, but Elemu was an Ethiopian international, had played in the African Cup of Nations as well. Now, all 4 players that were drafted had played in the last Senior Bowl game, but none of them made the Whitecaps roster that year. I was curious as to exactly what had happened to them, though. And Bauman, he still holds Penn Quakers' career points and assist records. He went on to play 3 seasons in the NASL, and he played that 1974 season with the Miami Toros. He then retired to become an elementary school teacher before becoming the head coach of the Quakers in Pennsylvania, and then he became the chief executive of the US National Soccer Hall of Fame. So, fantastic career that Steve Bauman had. But perhaps the most amazing of all was Takeda Elemu. Elemu had been capped internationally with Ethiopia, but he gave up a life in football to enter the political world. He started off as a first secretary in 1983, rising to Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ethiopia in 1991. and he's been a diplomat now for over 40 years. He was Ethiopia's permanent representative to the United Nations from January 2011 until early last year. He's still a UN diplomat, and he even served as president of the UN Security Council for a month in September 2017. Now, that is not bad for a Whitecaps draft pick that didn't go on to play a single game for the Whitecaps.
That's ridiculous.
Now, Vancouver did, however, get the rights to a player on January 23rd that was to play a significant part of the Whitecaps' inaugural season. Bermudan international goalkeeper Sam Newsom. Newsom had played the previous 2 seasons with Montreal Olympique. They had folded, and he stayed 1 season in Vancouver, making 17 appearances, before going on to play 1 final year in the NASL with the New York Cosmos. And we'll have a lot more to talk about with Newsom as we get into the 74th season. But yeah, interesting times. It was the start of everything happening, and that was this week for the Whitecaps in 1974. So let's bring us right up to date now, and we're going to finish this part with a look at some international news stories. We'll kick things off on the Canadian side, and some news that I'd say it was pretty much one-way traffic and thought. Mauro Biello was named to continue as Canada's interim manager for the upcoming huge Copa America qualifier against Trinidad and Tobago in March. It's not gone down well. I believe you're quite happy for him because you do want Mauro to succeed, but the general fans' reaction to this has not been good.
I mean, it makes sense on a number of levels, and yeah, like we've talked about on the show before, I'm happy for Mauro because I think he deserves a chance. I think the limited opportunity he's had in the interim role is hard to qualify that as a chance. And I understand if people feel it is. So yeah, but ultimately it feels like, I know you said this or we've talked about this or whatever, that it almost feels like this is okay. Yeah, he extend the interim tag, and then that's because they're waiting for a season to end somewhere where they can bring in someone that they've had their eye on or they've had meetings with or whatever.
Surely has to be that. I mean, before Christmas, and I wasn't the only one that heard this, people were being told Bobby Smirniotis is a done deal.
Right.
Now, if it was a done deal, you'd imagine he would have taken over for this.
Yeah.
Or at least be working with Mauro for this.
Yeah.
But it does, surely this means there's a manager somewhere in Europe that they're wanting to get, that they're waiting to the end of the European season, and he's going to come in May, June, July. It has to be that. The disaster of that Jamaica game.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I put that on my mind. That was really bad.
I mean, this is huge for Biello.
Yes.
It's like, do you have the faith that you can beat Trinidad and Tobago? I do, because this squad should be beating Trinidad and Tobago.
Exactly.
And I know they put up a good fight against the US, and I know they're taking on 2 countries at the same time. But it's like that we should be way too good, and we should get through this, and we should be at Copa America. Ifs and buts don't make formalities, so the pressure is on him. And it's, will we stick with the old guard that was so criticised in the last game? Will we bring in fresh blood? Is this the kind of game to bring in fresh blood? Surely you kind of do want to stick with what you know. There's so many things for him to kind of cope with here, but I mean, ultimately it boils down, if Canada don't get through this, it's a disaster for the programme. It's a disaster for the preparation for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to contemplate not qualifying for this, right? Like, it would be disastrous in multiple ways. And I mean, if that were to happen, then yeah, Mauro would be, not extended immediately or whatever, right? Like that would be.
Yes, you
That
would
be
certainly think so. I mean, we didn't even have a camp routine this year. Obviously, money being a little bit tight, but a January camp for the MLS guys, you would have thought would maybe have made a lot of sense. The US had their traditional January camp. It was all MLS players in it. And because it's not in a FIFA window, like they played Slovenia on Saturday. It was a 1-0 win for the Slovenians. 24 players made their international debuts in that match. 13 for Slovenia, and 7 of the 11 American debutants were starters as well. But one of those debutants was Vancouver Whitecaps' Brian White. Now, Brian will be joining up with the Whitecaps squad in Marbella this week after his spell in the US camp. Made his national team debut on Saturday. He started, he played 62 minutes, didn't get a shot off, tagged with creating one chance, 82% passing accuracy, and trust me, it took me a long time to find these stats because all the usual stats sites did not have stats for this, but I eventually found it. So, I don't know, I didn't watch the game, I don't know how well he did, but pleased he got this opportunity and hopefully he can have a good season to build upon it. Did get a chance to jump on the pre-game call with Brian. Myself and Har went on it. So I'll play a little bit of audio from Brian just now, just talking about his excitement of being part of this and what it means to him to put on his country's jersey. Hey there, Brian. You've had 2 career seasons now in the last 3 years, getting the reward now with this call-up to the national team. When you look back to when you were a little boy starting out, it's obviously a dream to play for your country. How much does this moment mean to you? And how do you hope to use this camp to now take it into the season, which is going to obviously get underway for you in less than a month now?
Yeah, it's been a long road, I think, to get to this point. You know, growing up, you're always dreaming of playing for your national team at any level. And throughout my youth, you know, I was on the outside looking in at all the youth camps, and you recently watching people get called into the full national team camps and just waiting for, you know, one opportunity to be able to show what I can do, how I can play. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out on the field and representing the country in a game against Slovenia and hopefully scoring a goal.
Brian, I also wanted to ask about your outlook for Vancouver's CONCACAF Champions Cup campaign. I think you guys start before anybody else this season, and how you think the squad is ready for that, and how you think you'll approach that tournament.
For the Whitecaps, it's obviously a tough start to the season, but you know, we're up for the challenge. I've watched a couple of the video clips from training that they've been sending over from Marbella, so it's looking good. Everyone's getting integrated into our style of play that we want to execute, and should be a fun opportunity for us against Tigres in Victoria.
Can you let the U.S. fans know a little bit about your game, what you're all about here in Vancouver? Just kind of describe what you're doing on the pitch to them, maybe if they're unfamiliar with what you're all about.
Yeah, I think style of play, I like to create a lot of problems for defenders, whether that's being physical and making runs in behind, pressing well when they're on the ball, and you know, just trying to make their lives as difficult as possible. And then offensively, just getting in the box and sniffing out moments to get in front of goal and have my opportunities.
So Brian White there just talking about his excitement, and he was on CBS talking about how he looked up to Clint Dempsey as a kid and getting this opportunity. So if nothing else, if this just is a one and done thing, it's still a great thing to have when you look back on your career, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I know the great regard in which you hold Clint Dempsey.
I liked his song.
Yeah,
his rap song that he had. I believe you have played Don't Tread in Wavelength before.
All joking aside, yeah, this is great for Brian White, and a just reward for his hard work these last couple of seasons. And for Whitecaps fan, you hope this just spurs him on.
Yeah. The big 2 international tournaments that are going on just now, the African Cup of Nations, I've not had a chance to watch.
Yeah, I've hardly watched I watched a little bit. I watched a little bit of highlights. I watched a little bit live. I watched a little bit on PVR for the African.
I've
nations.
unfollowed the CAF YouTube channel because their highlights were going up with the scores.
Oh yeah.
beIN Sports USA are putting up like 8 to 10 minute highlights of the matches with no spoiler in the graphic. So
What's up with the? So I went to the YouTube that shows the Asia one.
Yeah.
But it's like all they have under like coming streams. It's all like press conference. So you have to like know when to. It's easy.
Yeah, I think it goes live at the time of the game.
Yeah, but all these other things have like predetermined.
Yeah,
it's weird that it's not like, hey, we're showing this game tomorrow or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, we're recording this on Sunday night, so both in the African and the Asian Cup, all the teams have played 2 games so far. There's games taking place on Monday. In the African one, first of all, we'll look at that one first. There's been a few surprise results. And I think maybe if you look at Group B, maybe none more so than Cape Verde have qualified from Group B already after 2 matches. And this is a group featuring Ghana and Egypt.
Yeah. I actually watched most of the Ghana-Egypt match live.
So did I, because it was on BBC.
I saw you tweeting about it later. I didn't see it at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, 2-2 draw. It was a pretty shitty first half. Let's be honest there. But it was a fantastic second half.
I think I missed most of the first half. But yeah, I watched all the second half. And you know who, shockingly, you know who else is watching the game?
Gersh Kofi.
I
just imagined it would be.
Because when Ghana scored, I messaged him.
The way it works, the top 2 qualify, and then it's the 4 best third place things. So I mean, Ghana and Egypt still have a good chance to go through, but from some of these results, and I've more just looked at the results and watched the games, it feels like a changing of the guard is kind of coming in Africa a little bit. There's been some really strong performances from like countries like Equatorial Guinea, who are top of Group A, and there's been a lot of these countries that are, maybe this is the next hotbed to look for talent, which the Whitecaps have done, and they've brought a couple of guys over, Gambian from Tanzania as well.
How long has it been 24 teams? That's one thing I was wondering.
I don't know.
It feels like a lot of teams.
Yeah. Talking of Whitecaps, a Tanzanian player, Cyprian Kachiweli, he hasn't featured for Tanzania in either of their 2 matches so far. They've got a point and they're sitting bottom of Group F. I watched the highlights of their game today against Zambia. Zambia, favourites going into it, went down to 10 men. Tanzania scored, and then they dropped the 2 points to a late leveller, so it was a heartbreaker for them. So a lot of good stuff in Africa, and I'll be trying to watch it more this week, because now that we're into the last round of the group games and then it's the knockout stages, it's a bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of group stages just in general in a lot of the competitions, but turning our attention to Asia now, again, at the time of recording, the 2 teams, or the teams have played like two of their 3 group games, and of local interest, as you mentioned, Vancouver FC's Gabi Bitar didn't feature in Lebanon's huge 0-0 draw with China on Wednesday. Yeah. Now, that sets up a massive game on Monday morning that folk will know the result of by the time that they listen to this. They play Tajikistan, 7 a.m. our time, and if they win that, they've got a really good chance of being in the top 2 of the group, and even if they're not, they should go through as one of the best third place teams, because Qatar are playing China. And that would be massive for Lebanon, but what an experience this would be for Gabi Bitar as well. And I don't know if you saw, Iraq beat Japan 2-1 on Friday.
Yeah,
Former Whitecap Ali Adnan, who started their first game, came off the bench in the second half of this one. But wow, what a win.
Yeah, massive for a man of his age.
But that as well should be fantastic games coming up now.
All joking aside, yeah, Japan has been on a crazy roll, includes their one victory against Germany. I don't think it includes their other, does it?
I don't know. Iraq led 2-0 at the half, and it was only a 93rd minute goal by Japan that even reduced the deficit in that one.
Yeah, because Japan, I think it was 11 games in a row they had won or something.
So the Asian Cup games are live on YouTube in Canada. And if you've got a VPN for the African Nations one, you can watch some of the games on BBC. And as I say, beIN Sports USA YouTube channel has some really good highlights with no spoilers that I've seen so far. So hopefully I'll be watching a lot more of these games this week. That is it for the football chat. We will finish, as always, though, with this episode's wavelength. And spoke to Fafa Picault in part 2 there, the new Whitecaps winger. And he played 2 seasons with St. Pauli over in Germany. So I've had this song in my folder for a while. I've been waiting for a moment involving St. Pauli to play it at some point. So this seems a perfect time. It's a band we've featured before in Wavelength. UK punk legend, the Angelic Upstarts. Blood on the Terraces is their big football song that we've played before. This is a track taken from their 2015 album, Bullingdon Bastards. It's their 12th and at the moment last studio album, although the band are still going. And this is their song, The Streets of St. Pauli. Angelic Upstarts, The Streets of St. Pauli. That is it for this show.
You can find me on X or Twitter at Zachary AM if you want to connect there. I was going to say, just a huge shout out to Fraser Valley Fanatics. And shout out to FV Fanatics and some of the stewards of Vancouver FC. We just had Andrew Harley organized just a get together, an off season, no agenda.
Soiree.
Well, sure, you could call it that, I guess. Just at one of our local pubs that we will hang out at before after matches. Sometimes the Barley Merchant in Langley, and it was great. It was like because of the weather, though. I was just like, and there was a bunch of people who said, "Oh, I was going to come, but the weather."
Yeah, when I saw your photo, I couldn't believe how many folk had turned up. That's a good turn up for a snowy.
After we left the pie hole, we got held up a couple. We ran into some bunch of people we knew on the Fraser Highway in downtown Langley, and had long conversations that made us late to get there. So we walked in, and I was like, "Oh, it's not going to be a big deal," because I knew like 3 or 4 or 5 people had said, "Hey, I'm just not going to make it." So I walked in, and it was like one of those were like, "Shoot, the whole thing is full." we were just lucky that there was a space where we could bring in another table and add on to it.
Wow.
So shout outs to stewards of the club, like Mark Rogers was there, and Jeevan Kang and Kyle Rowe, and then players, Captain Callum Irving was there. It's kind of Swiss Army knife of Caden Chung was there, and then of course new signing Ben Fisk was also there. And so it was just a nice, again, no agenda, just hanging out, having food, having beverages, and connecting. It was a really, really nice time, and gets everyone excited about what's in store for the season. And it was good to see Ben finally face to face for the first time in a while. And
the best thing as well is you didn't have to pay for anything, because when the waitress came up with the bill, Ben just looked at her and said, "We've already paid," and just gave her that hypnotic stare because he's got superpowers.
Yeah, I wish it was like that. But no, it was a really good time, and so looking forward to some more of those. And there's a number of things in the works as we walk towards or travel towards the season coming and preseason. And so, just really excited about all that 2020 has in store for the Fanatics. And if you want to be involved, fefanatics@gmail.com, or on social media, you can find us there as well. And it's really excited and really encouraged. And with a guy like Ben coming back too, it's kind of, and potentially other local players, or even Grady's, I don't know Grady's family and his friends or whatever. Looking forward to having some other local people who will hopefully choose to be engaged in the support that exists around the club and help grow that as well. So exciting times.
Yeah, it is. I like the build so far by the team. Great to have the schedule coming out this week as well. It helps planning things. Just need the League One BC schedule to come out now. And that might not come out to March.
And the Voyageurs Cup, we need that.
Oh, the Voyageurs Cup as well. With League One as well, just say you may or may not have seen the commissioner, general manager of League One BC, Shan Bagshaw, stepped down this week. The search is on for a new GM. Going to throw my hat in the ring. I think I could run that league very well. But I just want to say big thanks to Sean for the work that she's done in lifting the league in these first 2 seasons. Let's see what is in store for season 3 and more. So it is exciting times in 2024 in BC for soccer at all levels, for the podcast as well. We're looking forward to covering it every step of the way. We'll be back with another episode soon, some more interviews soon. And until then, give us a follow on Twitter, AFTN Canada, youtube.com, AFTN Canada, and drop us a line, aftncanada@hotmail.com. Until next time, thanks for listening. Stay safe in the snow and slush, and mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
More than a name.
AFTN